They have to be a faculty member at UCA. If you have a faculty member at another institution, then your application would go through that institution, but that almost never makes it through the system. I think we have had one student mentored by a UAMS faculty member, but ordinarily it should be a mentor at your home institution. And if not, a co-mentor situation is the easier thing to bring forward. But ideally, it's a faculty member. Part of the reason for starting this grant program was to increase the research infrastructure in the case, meaning faculty development. So there is a great desire to have faculty at your home institution. In fact, the only place that is where students have been mentored and funded by someone not at their institution is through UAMS. So there'll be a review panel, and the review panel will be people with terminal degrees in that field. Hopefully in your field, but not necessarily. It depends. Sometimes we get one proposal from an area, and then somebody who's reviewed lots of proposals will get to review that one. I seem to review all of the proposals from strange areas that come from institutions other than UCA. Since I'm at this point the second longest serving reviewer on the panel, the longest serving reviewer and I do those things because we've seen more proposals than anybody else. They'll be from all of the public and private colleges within the state. Occasionally there might be a politician, but that's rare these days. But the basic thing is that while there's a panel, your proposal is going to be reviewed by one person. And ideally, that person will be a person with a background in your general area, but maybe not. I've reviewed an art history before because the art history involved impacted astronomy, and so rather than trying to find an art historian, I reviewed the proposal. It was good. I recommended it be funded, but ideally you'd get someone from your field. What that means is you get a chance to say what your field is on the front page. Put something that's simple for the person to decide who should review your proposal. Stick with things like biology, psychology. Don't put something like cognitive dissonance in film because that's a real one. Because then the person who divides up the proposals for the reviewers won't know who to give it to, and will probably end up with the wrong person. So, anyway.
Quick question.
Go ahead.
So who's the one that distributes proposals? Is there the same person every year, or does that change? Or?
Lillian Williams, who runs the program, distributes it. And if she has doubts that she knows she has, she will frequently call me. But sometimes
because she's not a scientist.
She's not a scientist, right?
So how would unless she's got a huge breadth?
Right, and that's why it's really important that you just put a general subject area on the front page, because that way you'll get to an appropriate reviewer. Yes, Lillian is an ADHE employee, and her background, I think, is in the public schools. So here's the review process. I get proposals, and everyone else gets the proposals by mail. Actually, they're usually late, so they come by FedEx. But anyway, I get a packet of proposals, and what happens is I review those proposals, and I then rank them, and I attend a review panel sometime in November, usually before Thanksgiving, sometimes after. And what happens is the panel does not discuss the proposals. What happens is the reviewers go around and they nominate proposals that they want funded. Last year, what that meant in practice was that most reviewers got one proposal funded, some got two. and a few got 3. Since I do the ones that are from a variety of areas, 3 of mine were funded, but they were from all sorts of different areas. But the basic point is, you are convincing one person that you've written a really good proposal. They can submit more, and after the first round, maybe there'll be some discussion. But that person has to put your proposal forward. They have to believe it's worthy of funding, because if they don't, then your proposal will never be discussed. And even if reviewers from your institution ask about the proposals, they still won't be discussed. A reviewer from an institution that will remain nameless last year said, oh, there was a proposal from my institution in physics and chemistry. No one said anything about that. The reviewer said, and for good reason, it was terrible. And so the point is that the reviewers are going to be the ones that decide. And those questions have come up over the years. I have never seen a proposal, though, that made it out of the stack because someone asked about it. Typically, it is what the reviewers recommend. So, there's also a score sheet in the packet. Let me just tell you that it is unused by the review panel. Here's what happens. You pick who you want who you think the best proposals are, and you do submit a score sheet. If the score sheets, though, don't agree with the people nominated, score sheets are adjusted before they're sent back to the people who submitted the proposals. It's just like a science fair or history day. The score sheets aren't what determine the winners. It's the evaluative and abilities of the judges, and different judges have different scoring scales. So the absolute raw points that an individual judge might provide are meaningless, and so the scores are adjusted so that the ones who are awarded are those who got the high scores, and the ones who are not awarded are the ones who get the lower scores. And it's simply a matter of adding or subtracting a set amount, typically, to each reviewer score to get them in the ballpark. So don't spend too much time trying to score points by hitting everything that's on that review form. It really isn't taken into account by the people reviewing the proposals. Go ahead.
Why bother doing that if they're really meaningful?
I've asked that question.
It sounds like,
well,
change some numbers around, so something is quantitative there, and
right.
That they don't mean anything.
They don't mean anything, exactly. But most competitions are like that. Almost all grant competitions have the review forms, and I'm only aware that the Federal Department of Education actually uses them in that format. Most other grant agencies don't. So, this is an external proposal. What that means is, it's going to be reviewed by, after your mentor is happy with it, department chairs, deans, the Office of Sponsored Programs, Budget Office, the IRB, if there are human subjects, the Animal Care and Use Committee, if there are animals, the Radiation Safety Committee, if you use radiation, and various other administrators who have to sign off to get a proposal off campus. So it will undergo a considerable review after it leaves your hands. Most of it will actually be in sponsored programs. They will read your proposals and they'll give you some feedback on them. But budgets have to be checked out in various places. It'll also have to be entered electronically into the Caillou system. I'm not going to tell you how to do that, but I think, Berlin, you're going to do that later in the week. But these days we have an electronic routing process for proposals, meaning that you can also get comments back electronically, which is nice. And I'm just going to skip these. And this will just show, this is the routing history of one from a couple of years ago, and showing all of the approvals that were recorded to get that proposal off campus, but we'll just leave that. There's more important things to talk about. UCA's deadlines. Got to have your proposal to sponsor programs by October the 17th. The CAU's documents also must be uploaded by October the 17th. October the 19th, sponsor programs will upload the edited proposals back into CAU's, and you have to have your final versions uploaded by October the 23rd. They're due at ADHE November 1st, and we typically hand deliver them. So that, anyway, those are the deadlines you have to adhere to. And this will ensure that they are reviewed and that they get off campus. This isn't on the sponsored programs website, by the way, Marlene. Last year's dates are still up, and they're off by about 2 days.
Jennifer's supposed to be working on that.
So last year's, these dates are about 2 days earlier than last year's, and it says 2011 when you looked.
The correct dates are on the little brochures
Yes.
that the Psych Society.
Go
Go ahead.
Is that before fall break?
Excuse me?
Is it before fall break?
Yes, the week
Yes.
before.
So there's a cover page you have to fill out. There's not much that can go wrong, or there's not much that should go wrong on the cover page. There's a lot that does go wrong. So keep that in mind. If you take the forms that are available, actually I think they fixed this problem this year. They're PDFs, so last year's forms were Word files, but they got mangled. I think I checked this morning, and they just made a PDF of it, so you'll have to retype it anyway to make it look good. But the XML, if you find last year's forms, which were Word forms, the XML versions of Word actually mangled them, and you have to correct them anyway. So keep that in mind. If you do just use last year's Word forms, correct the dates on the bottom because they say last year on them. But the cover looks the same. Name, eligibility, check one box. You'll be amazed at how many people check two boxes. So you're either a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident. Too many students check both. So make sure that you get that right. Name of your mentor, name of the institution. Surprisingly, that is often wrong on proposals. Permanent mailing address, email address for both you and your mentor, title of the project, academic department, degree sort. So that's part of it. Then if you go to the lower part, there's a piece about budget. Stipend can't exceed $12.50 from ADHE. The stipends are matched by sponsored programs. Mentor cost can't exceed $750. Student travel can't exceed $750. The total budget then is $4,000 when you add all of the pieces up. The mentor has to sign it, and there has to be an authorized signatory from the university. You'd be surprised at how often that page goes wrong. I don't think I've seen one that went wrong from UCA, but I see people have trouble because the cover page is wrong all the time. Let's talk about the mentor. Is this a student proposal? Yes. Is it a faculty proposal? Yes. It's mostly a student proposal, but the mentor matters. So early career faculty are especially favored. People with a long track record have an advantage. People who are very active as mentors have an advantage. Faculty reinvigorating their research for appropriate reasons are also fine. Somebody, though, who had never done any work with students for 10 years and decided to start probably is not going to be a good mentor. The SURF people will prefer that person start using some departmental funds, and then after some success will come to SURF. So you have to have a good mentor, and one of the ways you can find out is to check their web pages. Most people have their CV on their web page. Look for someone who's been active with students. That's a good way of finding out someone who will work with students. I'll talk about reinvigorating for appropriate reasons a little later. There's a mentor information form that, again, provide the requested information on the form. Don't let your mentor say, see resume. The idea is the form provides the highlights of the resume. There can be a resume as well, but your mentor should describe what their basic research interests are, and they should describe what projects they've undertaken with students. That could be something like, in the last 5 years, I've undertaken 10 projects with students, each of which was results of each of which was presented at a national meeting. Something like that is the sort of thing that would be a good summary, but it needs to say something. See resume is not a good thing because reviewers don't like to have tons of things. This actually is something I wrote for someone who was reinvigorating their career. Someone had been a chair for a number of years, had been active before they were a chair, didn't have time while they were a chair, and this basically is something that person could write. So if you have a mentor who falls into that class, Berlin will have a copy of the slides and she could provide this to them. If you're a new faculty member, describe what you're doing as a continuation of what you did before. And again, these are some details, and one of them is one of the things I just said. Don't put vita in here, though. Make it real summative information. And it's good to have details of funding, presentations, publications, but just numbers will be fine. You don't have, it shouldn't be a relisting of what's on the resume either. Let's look at the student, because most of you are students. You have a page that looks like the mentor page. Do the same thing. Supplement, don't replace. There's more questions asked. Name, program of study, classification, grade point average. Make sure it matches what's on the transcript. You have to submit an official transcript. Hours completed, whether you're full-time or not, what scholarships you already have, and please provide any additional information that qualifies you for support. That can be, I've been working on this project for 2 years, these are my accomplishments, those things are frequently better than saying something like, I'll have to spend less time working at Walmart if I get these fundings. So make it tied to the research. Not to say that saying something like that isn't viewed positively. It just shouldn't be the only thing. Focus on the research and the fact that funding gives you more time to concentrate on the research, not less time to spend working at Walmart. And that's the basic way to cast it. It's really self-explanatory. One of the things, though, is talk about your career goals. So if you plan to go to graduate school, say so. If you plan to go to medical school, don't. Because this is something, or this award was designed to encourage people to be researchers, not to go into